Alright, what's going on YouTube? Sun's out, buns out. It's your boy, the Bun Man. Today, I want to do a quick little video of my opinion and review on some old man emu coils. Now, I'm driving my truck right now, the 2017 Tacoma off-road. Love it. But I just recently threw the 33-inch tires on my truck about a month or so ago, and everything I've been doing has been in preparation to throw those 33s on here. You generally do need a lift regardless of what people say. You're gonna have to cab mount chop, trim a good amount of plastic, and it's gonna depend on what your rims, the backspace and offset are, if you got wheel spaces and all that. Also, it depends on what kind of 33s you're going to run. If you're going to run skinnies or if you're going to run the 285 Fat Boy 33s. That's what I'm running. The Cooper STT Pros, 285, 75, 16s. But back to the lift. When I first bought my truck, after having it for, I don't know, maybe about a year, so about 2-3 years ago or so, I threw a lift on it over from Headstrong off-road. I threw the 5100 Bilsteins on all four corners, the Headstrong 3 add-a-leaf pack in the rear, and the 888 Old Man Emu coils up front. Now, I do not have a winch or a bumper in the front. My truck is the 2017 off-road 4x4 double cab long bed. So I'd go out on a limb and say it's the heaviest Tacoma you can get, being it's the 4x4, it's the double cab and long bed. So everybody said originally I should have went with the 887s. Those are the basic length and spring rate, where they suggest if you have no weight up front to go with the 887s. Well, I figured my truck was a little bit heavier, so I almost wanted to start with the 886 coils, but everybody said, A, you can't put those on the 5100s, and I really wanted those over the nitro chargers. And second, everyone said if you do not have a winch and a bumper, do not use the 886 coils. It'll be way too stiff, it will not work. I debated back and forth, 886 or 888s. A lot of people said not even to do 888s because on all the websites, it says 888s are recommended for, they're the longest coil, and they're recommended for if you have either a winch or a bumper to still get that 2.5 lift. I wanted to make sure I got the lift though, but I didn't want to overdo it and screw it up. That was the first time I put a lift on my truck, first time I put a lift on any truck. Just got the truck, so I didn't want to screw anything up too bad, so I just went with the 888 coils. I've had that for the past 2.5 years. Was never happy though. After the initial install, the lift just wasn't there. The back end was a lot higher. I had a pretty decent rake. I was never crazy satisfied. I initially had a 1/4-inch spacer on the driver's side to make up for the taco lane. Still didn't work. I end up rocking, for the most part, a 1/2-inch spacer on the driver and the 1/4 on the passenger. That still wasn't enough lift, because initially with just a 1/4-inch on the driver's side and nothing on the passenger side, I only got about 1.75-inch lift. 1.75 with the 888 coils, and I was with a 1/4-inch plate on the driver's side. Was not happy with that. The coils, I didn't think anything of it. It kind of rode like stock. They were just very squishy. 888 coils were very soft. The truck would, you know, hit bumps and speed bumps and potholes, and it would kind of bounce, and you'd feel it bounce for a little bit till, you know, it came back and found its spot. I got the sway bar removed from my truck, so I tend to rock back and forth every once in a while on streets when I'm going slow, and you can feel the truck like cushion and sink on turns. You can feel, you know, the springs actually compress all the way down. You can feel the weight of the truck when you turn and when you move and when you hit bumps. I didn't think anything of it. I don't think it was bad, but it always felt like it was just too much weight. And the coils are only 590 pounds spring rate, and it just felt like there was just too much weight. I mean, it was already sitting lower, and then when you hit bumps, it just felt like it like really dipped down and sagged and sunk down and kind of took a second to rock and bounce back into place. I kind of just figured that's how it was. That was normal-ish, so I didn't really know what my options were to do. But now that I threw the bigger tires on, I definitely needed to do something, because after getting aligned and getting my caster bumped up above 3, I already had the cab mount chop, trimming a little bit more plastic. My tires still were hitting on bumps and turns. So if I was turned and hit a small bump because I didn't have enough lift and because the springs were so soft, it would cushion all the way down, and I was still rubbing on the cab mount. So I had a couple options I was gonna do. I could throw more plates on top temporarily. I can bump the bottom notch up on my 5100 and keep the 888 soft squishy coils, or I can go to 886s, or I guess a lot of people said I can go ahead and throw some more expensive Fox or Icon or King ADS suspension, but I don't use my truck for crazy off-roading where I'm going, you know, 50 miles an hour off-road and I need some crazy suspension. I just do a little bit here and there, camping, fishing, trails, nothing stupid crazy. So I'm not spending, you know, a couple $1,000s on suspension. This was my budget build. This is what I wanted to do. I'm gonna stick with this and make it work. So for the past couple of weeks, what I did to make my tires not rub and chew up is I threw a 1-inch spacer on my driver's side on top of those 888 coils and a 1/2 inch on the passenger. The truck looked good. It was pretty lifted, but it probably was about 4 inches lifted. Too much. I didn't have any vibes. I haven't done a diff drop. Nothing too bad look-wise, and driving on flat pavement still was squishy, a little bit stiffer with everything being stretched out a little more, but it was, you can tell the CV angles were pushing it, and on full droop with that 1-inch spacer on the driver's side, on full droop, the upper control arm ball joint where it connects to the spindle hit the coils, and the front wheel differential did not spin. On full droop, it was drooping so low it wouldn't even rotate and spin freely. Usually you can spin your wheels freely when it's up on a jack stand, and when it's at full droop you should be able to. So that I knew I had too much lift, and I could just tell by the CV angles that yes, it worked for temporarily, but I didn't want to keep it at that, and I didn't want to push it. I do plan on keeping my truck. I'm not just gonna kind of mod it out and part it or sell it in a couple of years or trade it in. I plan on keeping this and run it to the ground, so I want to keep it as reasonable and safe, and, you know, put parts on it that are going to be longevity and usability rather than beat it up and replace things within a few years. So I debated what I was going to do, and instead of raising the perch up on those 5100s to squish the 888 coils even more, because they're already the longest ones and they're pretty freaking squished in there, so instead of squishing them more, I said, screw it. The weight of my truck just feels heavy. The 3rd gens are heavier, which I don't know if a lot of people understand that, realize that. I don't know if the coils are rated necessarily. They said they were, but I honestly don't think they were. I think they're still rated for 2nd gens. So about a week or two ago, I went ahead and ordered some 886 coils. Again, still no bumper on the front, no winch, so no extra weight besides the battery and me, gas tank. I don't have a rack. I got a rooftop, or a roof rack, the Prinsu cab rack, but that's it. That's not much weight. I have sliders. Again, sliders might add, I don't know, what are they, 100 pounds probably total from front to back. So it's not specifically on the front hanging off it like a winch or a bumper would be. It is extra weight, but that's all the extra weight I have. So I went ahead and did the install. I got videos of that because I installed the 886 coils all by myself, doing the floor jack lower control arm method. I was able to decompress my 888 coils and kind of recoil my struts or my shocks all while on the truck, not using a spring compressor. So check out that video. I'm gonna post that next because I got videos of that. I did it by myself and I did it with no spring compressor. It is possible. The springs are not too stiff, they're not too long. It was pretty easily possible. I was a little suspect and worried doing it by myself for the first time, but it went pretty dang smooth. I could have used a second pair of hands to make it run that much smoother, but it worked. No problems, no issues, no damage done to me or the truck. So I'll give that a thumbs up on that method. But I got the 886 on there now and I'm driving it, and this is my first day on the highway coming to and from work. I drove it around town a little bit on the weekends. I just installed them on Friday, got the truck aligned on Saturday, drove it around a little bit Saturday and Sunday, but today's the full-blown, you know, highway drive. And honestly, the 886s on the 3rd gen, this feels like how the truck was supposed to ride. Before, the truck felt squishy, it felt like it was almost bottoming out because it was so heavy. Now, and everyone said these were going to be too stiff, and I was thinking it was going to be too stiff as in like, I've driven in a 3500 Ram dually, and I mean, that thing, you go over bumps, the whole truck kind of bounces off the bumps. There's no suspension at all. I thought that's how this might have been. I thought it was going to recoil pretty heavily. If I went over a bump, that, you know, the coils were going to kind of spring the tires to the ground before the truck got down, and you know, it was going to like jerk and slam the shocks down. Not at all, dude. Not at all. Is it stiffer? Yes, I can feel it. It is stiffer. If I didn't tell you and you were in my truck, you probably wouldn't know. It's not stiff to where you notice it being stiff. It's still pretty cushiony. It's just cushiony to the point where it cushions down and then levels off a lot faster. It doesn't bounce like before and you didn't feel like the whole truck rocking. It's kind of like it bounces over bumps and then levels out right away. But it doesn't like bounce and jerk and snap back. There's no clinking or clunking. It's still smooth. The lift is exactly where I want it. I think the front is still maybe an inch or a half inch lower than the back. Before was about 2 inches or 2.5, so it was a good rake. Now it's just a tad right where I want it. Overall, all in all, I wish I would have went with these 886s in the beginning, so I didn't have to kind of flip-flop and go back and forth. And how many times I took my shocks off my truck to put spacers on and then modify this and then measure this and then drive this around and back and forth, back and forth. I advise anybody with a 3rd gen, especially if you have any weight up front, and I do plan on getting a bumper in the future. I don't know if that'll be in a year, 2, 3, but so I'm pretty set up for that if I do and when. But anybody with a 3rd gen, if anybody wants to comment what coils you have and how your 887s and 888s are working, I highly recommend the 886s. They are a world of difference. The truck rides like it's supposed to. It feels great. I've had no problems yet. I can post another update video once I take the truck off road and I see how it is going over rocks and dirt roads. But for now, on the road and little bumps, speed bumps, curbs, turns, flawless, dude. I absolutely love it. The only time, which I'll probably never experience, but the only time I might see these coils being too stiff with no weight is, like I said, if you're going like 30, 40, 50 miles an hour on like washboard roads or whatever, where you're hitting a lot of bumps and driving around pretty fast and aggressively, when you need like a more soft, squishy suspension to soak up those bumps, this will probably be pretty stiff and it'll probably be a little bit jarring and bouncing up and down, hitting constant bumps. I'm never going to be doing that. That's not what my truck is for. Anything I'm going to be doing off-road is probably going to be under 10 miles an hour, especially if there's bumps and rocks. I'm not going to be going over 10 miles an hour. So all in all, that's my opinion. Anybody wants to know anything else, any more details, any other videos, go ahead and comment and I'll get back to you guys. Please, if you're watching this video or any of my other videos, go ahead and check them out. Like, subscribe, comment away. It helps me, it helps you guys. I'm trying to grow this channel with informative posts and videos to help other people out, problem solving, reviews, you name it. I'm out. Sun's out, buns out.